Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I want you guys to practice as many questions as possible. I will send no, I'll not send anything. You have to do it from the McMurray book only. So practice
Yeah.
as much as
Okay.
possible. And what we will do right now, briefly, we'll go to chapter 4 and see what is there in that. Okay. So chapter 4, the first section. Okay, the first section. All of you have the textbook. No, you have the PDF with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I will do is actually just share the PDF itself here. One second. Uh, okay. Can you see the text, right? You can see the text, no?
Yeah.
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 Okay. So some ways that chemical reactions occur. Uh, Precipitation reaction. Precipitation reaction, look at this figure. So you had something dissolved and then yellow precipitate of lead iodide is forming, right? So
Yeah.
precipitation reactions are reactions where soluble compounds react and give an insoluble product. One product is insoluble, which precipitates out, right? So the
Yeah.
example that he's giving is lead nitrate plus potassium iodide gives KNO3 plus PbI2. The PbI2 is the solid. It is not going to be in solution. Okay.
Yeah.
Another type of reaction is the common acid-base neutralization, that reaction that we have seen already earlier, right? Then there are redox reactions. So oxidation and reduction, does everyone know what it means?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is oxidation? Oxidation is loss of electrons. Okay.
Yeah.
Oxidation is a loss of electrons
Loss of electrons.
and reduction
Yeah.
is a gain of electrons. Okay.
Mm.
So if a compound, let's look at this reaction, magnesium plus HCl, okay, gives MgCl2 plus H2. Okay. So notice what has happened to magnesium. Magnesium has gone from being in an elementary state where its oxidation number. So we'll come to the idea of oxidation number. Oxidation number is just like sort of like a valency. It is going to tell you how much charge was there on the atom at a particular moment in time. Okay. So right now, think of Mg solid, right? Mg solid
Yeah.
is neutral, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll say that its charge is almost zero. Its oxidation number is zero, right?
Mm.
Mg's oxidation number is zero. Now think of HCl. In HCl, which one will be plus and which one will be minus?
H is plus. C minus.
H will be plus 1 and Cl will be minus 1. So because the
Yeah.
general Cl valency is minus 1, right? And
Yeah.
Cl has a tendency to gain electrons and H has a tendency to donate electrons, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here H doesn't really have a tendency to donate electrons, but it forms a covalent bond. This bond is not an ionic bond, right? HCl is not an ionic bond, it's a covalent bond. Electrons are shared between chlorine and hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
But for oxidation number is a device that is used, that is not a real thing. It's not supposed to be real. It's not really plus 1 and minus 1, but we are just doing it to keep track of whether something has been oxidized or reduced. It's a conceptual device, like in the sense that uh, it's a trick for us to figure out whether which one got oxidized and which one got reduced. Okay, so don't
Yeah.
think of it as actually hydrogen has plus 1.
Mm.
Actually hydrogen doesn't have any charge here. It is neutral because it is doing a covalent bond with chlorine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So both the electrons are shared in that covalent bond, right, by both the atoms, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is not a completely non-polar covalent bond. It's not a simple covalent bond like H and Cl. The electrons that are being shared are not shared equally, but still they are being shared, right?
Yeah.
Like in the sense
Yeah.
that chlorine will attract the electrons more, no? It is
Yeah.
highly electronegative. Hydrogen will not be able to pull the electron so close to itself. That will be there, but for now, just focus on hydrogen can always be plus 1 or minus 1. That is the valency allowed for hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, it is
Yeah.
+1 and chlorine is -1, right? So what happens later? See, hydrogen has become 0, no, now?
Yeah.
Hydrogen has gone to the elemental state. So it has become 0. So think of
Yeah.
what happened to magnesium. Magnesium went from 0 to +2. The MgCl2 has a +2, Mg2 plus ion.
Yeah.
Right? MgCl2 is definitely ionic, especially in an aqueous solution. So it is Mg2 plus, right? So Mg must have lost electrons, right?
Yeah.
So Mg has been oxidized. And hydrogen, what has happened? It has gone from +1 to 0, right? So it must
Yeah.
have gained electrons,
Yeah.
correct? So hydrogen
Yeah.
has been reduced. Okay. So what we'll
Yeah.
come to see is that oxidation and reduction go hand in hand. If one thing has been oxidized, the other thing has to be reduced.
Yeah.
Okay. So it cannot be that one thing got oxidized and no other reduction happened, because that doesn't make sense. Where did the electrons go, right?
Yeah.
If someone has lost electrons, then someone else will gain them, right? So this is the other type of reactions that we'll see. So 3 types CSN: for precipitation reaction, acid-base neutralizations, and oxidation reduction reactions, right? So we'll do this in more detail in this chapter, all of these 3 types. So now he's explaining what is an electrolyte in an aqueous solution. What is an electrolyte? Electrolyte is something that dissolves and allows the conduction of electricity. Okay. So if you think about it, suppose NaCl you have, right? NaCl solution. Now NaCl solution, what will happen? It will have the Na plus and Cl minus ions in it, no? Now if you apply a potential difference, at the ends, right?
Yeah.
Correct. What will happen is that the ions will migrate towards the positive plate and the negative plate. Correct.
Yeah.
Like if you apply a potential difference at the ends of the container in which you are keeping the NaCl solution, then the positive ions will go to the negative side and the negative ions will go to the positive side, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because of that, there will be a movement of charged particles in that medium, right?
Yeah.
Movement of charges through any space is known as current flowing. Okay.
Yeah.
In typical cases like metals and wires and all, the charges that are moving are electrons,
Yeah.
right? In a solution, the charges that are moving are ions. That is the only difference, right? So positive charge will move from some place to some place, negative charge will move in the opposite direction. So actually charged particles are moving in the solution. So technically you can say that some current is flowing, right? Even though it doesn't look like something through which current will flow, the current is flowing because of movement of different kinds of charged particles, not electrons, right?
Yeah.
Like we have in copper wires and metals and all, right?
Yeah.
You understand? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so this type of substance which dissolves in solution to form ions and which are conducting electricity is known as an electrolyte. Now, obviously, to conduct electricity, the presence of ions in the solution is essential, right? It cannot be that you will conduct electricity if there are neutral things inside the solution, right?
Yeah.
So there are many compounds, especially organic compounds, which when you dissolve in some solution, they don't break apart into ions because they're not ionic compounds, they're covalent compounds, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so they will remain as it is, they will remain as neutral molecules. So for example, if you take some uh, alcohol, suppose you take some methyl alcohol or something, CH3OH, right? And you dissolve and you try to dissolve it in water, generally it will not dissolve in water, so you have to use something else, some other solvent like ether or something. Okay. So if you try to dissolve it in some solvent, methyl alcohol will still remain methyl alcohol only. It will not, it is not an ionic compound. You cannot break it apart into some CH3 plus and OH minus or something. That is not how it is. That is not the structure of methyl alcohol. Okay. So because methyl alcohol remains as it is, now there is no charged particle in the solution, no? Then
Yeah.
that solution will not conduct electricity even if you apply a potential difference. You understand?
Yeah.
So that is a non-electrolyte. So a better example would have been sugar in water. That is much better. You have seen sugar, right? Now
Yeah.
sugar, if you dissolve in water, and as opposed to common salt, if you dissolve in water, there is a big difference between the two. Sugar
Yeah.
is C12H22O11, and that will not break apart. It will remain like that only.
Mm.
While NaCl will become Na plus and Cl minus, and it will conduct electricity.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
that is the meaning of this electrolytes and non-electrolytes. You can read the section later. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, some things are called strong electrolytes and some things are called weak electrolytes. So why are there gradations between electrolytes itself? Because some things will dissociate completely to become ions,
Completely.
and some things will not dissociate completely. That is the only distinction. So, for example, HCl, HBr, HI are strong acids. All strong acids and strong bases will completely dissociate. Like HCl will become H plus and Cl minus completely. Okay.
Yeah.
But HF, for example, hydrofluoric acid, is not so strong. So hydrofluoric acid is not so strong. So portion of it remains as HF and some portion of it dissociates. Okay.
Yeah.
So because some portion of it is remaining as a neutral molecule, it is not as powerful an electrolyte as HCl or HBr. Because those are, nothing is remaining neutral. Completely it is becoming H plus and Cl minus. Here, partially it is conducting electricity, right? So that is the difference between a strong and a weak electrolyte. Okay. I hope that is clear now. So there are three things: strong electrolyte, weak electrolyte, and non-electrolyte. Something is a non-electrolyte if it
Does
doesn't
not.
even dissociate into any ions. No ions are formed, nothing, right? It's covalently bonded compound. Okay. This is 4.2. Now, if you look at it, 1 second. Yeah. So, I think this is section 3, 4.3. Aqueous reactions and net ionic equations, right? So, so first he has written the molecular equation for the overall reaction. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the balanced chemical reaction that you are familiar with. PbNO3 whole twice plus 2Ki gives 2KNO3 plus PbI2. Right? Now what happens is actually the reaction doesn't happen like this, no? When you are dissolved in solution. You understand? Actually, when you take lead nitrate in a solution, you will get Pb2 plus and NO3 minus separate, right?
Yeah.
You will not have some lead nitrate molecules and all, because it's an ionic compound, right? So technically, in reality, potassium iodide will not be potassium iodide in solution. It will be K plus and I minus, right?
Yeah.
So what it really means is, look at that ionic equation. That is how the reaction actually happens. Pb2 plus aqueous plus 2NO3 minus aqueous plus 2K plus 2I minus gives 2K plus 2NO3 plus PbI2. Why is there PbI2 is not broken down? Why?
Yeah, it's solid.
It is solid because it has precipitated out, right? So if it is a solid compound, then it will not be like separate ions, no?
Yeah.
So PbI2 is coming out as a solid. Now this is the net ionic equation for obtained by breaking down each ionic compound into its component ions when it is dissolved in water, right? Then you can cancel some common ions here, no? 2K plus you can cancel, 2NO3 minus you can cancel, right? So you'll be ending up with Pb2 plus 2I minus gives PbI2.
PbI2.
See, below that he has written the net ionic equation after cancelling, right?
Yeah.
So basically the ions which are just spectator ions have been cancelled. So these ions, NO3 minus, K plus and all, are not doing anything. They were there before the reaction and they are still there after the reaction, right?
Hmm.
In the same proportion they are there, right? So these are called
Yeah.
spectator ions. So you can remove them, and the net ionic equation that actually happens is Pb2 plus 2I minus gives
Plus.
Pbi2 solid, right?
Yeah.
So this section is all about being able to look at a balanced reaction and being able to write the net ionic equation, right?
Hmm.
So I hope like once you read it, you will find it very easy. This is all easy stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Now 4.4 is solubility guidelines. So now you need to be able to figure out which compound will dissolve and which compound will not dissolve, no? Because if you cannot figure out, then you will not know which one will precipitate out and which one will stay in solution, right?
Yeah.
Suppose some reaction is given and you are supposed to predict what is the precipitate, right? Then you should know you should have some rough sense of the solubility of substances so that you can say, yeah, I think that this one will come as a precipitate, and sometimes it could be that there is no precipitate, right? Anything can happen,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So in general, the rule of solubility is that like substances dissolve like substances, like dissolves like. What do I mean by that? What I mean is water will dissolve ionic compounds, and non-ionic or organic compounds or covalently bonded compounds do not dissolve so well in water. So that is why oil floats on water, right? Oil and
Yeah.
water are not miscible. You understand?
Yeah.
Like if you mix oil and water, it will not become some homogeneous oil water mixture. Okay, it will be like oil layer will flow on top of or float on top of water layer and something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is because oil is not soluble in water. The reason it is not soluble in water is because oil has covalently bonded uh, oil is a covalently bonded compound, whereas water, even though it is covalently bonded, it is a very polar covalent bond. By polar covalent bond, I mean that in water, the oxygen pulls away the electrons from the shared electrons, right? So H and O atoms both are sharing electrons, but oxygen will pull them close to itself. Okay, so there will be a tiny negative charge on oxygen, tiny negative charge on oxygen, and tiny positive on the hydrogen. Basically, what I mean to say is, if you think of all the electrons in water, the electron cloud that is there in water, that will not be shared equally. Oxygen will hold on to more of it and hydrogen will get less of it, right?
Yeah.
So hydrogen will feel like it is having a tiny positive charge, oxygen has a tiny negative charge, and that is how they are in general. So it is a polar covalent bond. We'll come to this in more detail in chapter 6, 7 and all, so don't worry about it right now. What I want you to understand is that water will dissolve similar substances. It will be easy for water to dissolve ionic compounds because ionic compounds also have charges, right? Water has not a real charge, but a tiny negative charge and a tiny positive charge, whereas ionic compounds have actually charged ions, no, +2, +1, -1, and so on, right?
Yeah.
So that is similar to water. So like dissolves like. Alcohols and all and other organic compounds will be not soluble in water, and what will be soluble in water in general is an ionic or a polar covalent type of compound, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in this section, he is not describing it so much, the reasons behind it. We'll come to that as we learn more chemistry, but for now, just let's look at the guidelines that are there. A compound is probably soluble if it contains any one of the following cations. So basically lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, group 1, all of those are going to form soluble salts. Then NH4 plus, ammonium ion, that is also going to form a soluble salt, right?
Yeah.
Then he's saying probably soluble if it contains one of the following: chlorine, bromine, iodine, halide, except the only cases where halides are not soluble is silver chloride, mercury chloride and lead chloride. These are the only PbCl2, AgCl, Hg2Cl2. These are the only cases where they are not soluble. Okay. And nitrate, perchlorate, and so on are always soluble, except when they are making strontium or barium sulfate and silver, mercury sulfate, and so on,
Yeah.
right? And lead sulfate. So basically, lead, barium, mercury, these are silver sometimes, silver chloride. These are the compounds that are going to give insoluble substances which will precipitate out after the reaction. Okay. Okay. So there is a table with some guidelines. Just go through the guidelines once. You don't have to mug it up or anything. You have to, but be aware of the general trend of solubility. And over time, anyway, all of this will become very clear. So you don't have to stress out about it right now. 4.4, I want you to do 4. Actually, I want you to read till the end of this chapter. Okay.
Okay.
Before the next week's class, no, just read till the end of this chapter, which is 4.11. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now we have reached 4.4. There is 4.5, which is acid base neutralization, which is familiar stuff. Then you start the oxidation reduction reactions, redox stuff. So 4.6 onwards till 11 is very crucial. So try and read it and understand it as best you can. What we will do is we will cover this and the previous chapter problems if there are any doubts in the next class. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do 4.6 to 11. We'll do questions of chapter 4. Try as many questions as you can. If you can do the exercises, great. But just come back to the next class with the preparation for chapter 4, and we will try and finish that in the next class. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it for today. Saturday will be physics. So make sure that you do what Rahul has asked you to do. See, I have also shared, by the way, the physics and maths PDFs.
Yeah.
So you can try questions from those sheets and all. Okay. Try questions from those sheets and we'll discuss that in the upcoming classes. Okay. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye, sir.
Bye.